The holiday season is known for bringing family and friends together and creating happy memories. But for some, holiday memories are surrounded by tragedy.
This month, we will be sharing one unsolved missing person story every single day. We hope sharing their stories will help bring them home for the holidays.
As we are coming up on the end of our Bringing Them Home for the Holiday series, this case is one that Melissa remembers from Oklahoma. December 30th, we are discussing the disappearance of Ashley Freeman and Lauria Bible. Welch is about 90 miles northeast of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and it's interesting that yesterday's case was also in Tulsa suburb. It's a small town of less than 1,000 people. Early in the morning of December 30th, a passerby reported Freeman's mobile home on fire. The fire department came in and extinguished the fire, but the home was completely destroyed. Once the blaze was put out, Lauria's family, firefighters, and law enforcement began searching through the rubble for any signs of human remains that may not have escaped the fire. They found the remains of Ashley's mother, Kathy. The coroner took the remains for an autopsy and discovered that Kathy's cause of death was not from the fire, but in fact, it had been a gunshot wound. At this point, the teens and Ashley's father, Danny, were still unaccounted for. Arson investigators were called out to see if they could determine the cause of the blaze, and they found out that the fire had been intentional and was started from inside the home, and they deemed it as arson. The following day, Lauria's parents were walking around the rubble looking for anything that may lead to where the teenagers or Danny was. Early theories indicated that maybe Danny and Kathy got into a fight. Danny murdered Kathy and took the teenagers, but there was no real evidence of this theory. While walking around what remained of the mobile home, Lauria's parents found another body that was almost unrecognizable. Investigators missed it completely.
This boggles my mind. And I actually just listened to a podcast yesterday about this case. Again, even though I know all about it, I just like to hear updates.
It was Danny's body, and he too had been shot to death at close range with a shotgun in the face. The fact that Lauria's parents found this and not investigators brought the crime scene investigations unit back out to the home and raised a million red flags for the parents, thinking we are supposed to entrust these investigators with finding our daughter, and they can't even find these human remains amongst the rubble. This time, they found Lauria's purse that had her ID and about $200 in cash inside. If she had left on her own accord, wouldn't she have taken her purse?
That's a lot of money.
For a teenager, absolutely. And her car was found parked at the residence still, so she didn't just up and
Yeah.
leave when the fire started. Robbery was also ruled out as a motive because why would that money have been left behind? If someone had broken in screaming, "Give me all of your money" in a robbery scenario, surely she would have remembered she had some cash to survive. Here, take my cash, leave.
Yep. That's what I'd be doing, giving them whatever I could give them.
No other evidence led to where the girls could possibly be or who murdered Ashley's parents and set the fire.
Did they think that the girls could have something to do with it at first? I can't remember.
At one point, one of the theories, very unfounded and honestly really dumb, they
Mhm.
thought perhaps Ashley had gotten in a fight with her parents and that they murdered mom and dad
Oh,
and then tried to set fire to cover the evidence and then ran away.
okay.
Lauria's parents were questioned about this, and they said, absolutely not. They have never exhibited any sort of rage monster kind of personalities that would incite a murder, especially as
Yeah.
parents.
Yeah, exactly. That is very extreme to be like the first step of bad behavior. Oh, yep, we're gonna murder 2 people and then set the house
Mhm.
on fire.
And also, I feel like it's quite the jump to immediately go there because the teens are missing, and we're immediately going to go that they murdered their parents. It seems extreme.
I agree, extreme, but just as they would say, "Oh, the husband," when they couldn't find him,
Sure.
he let's look at if he took the girls, but then now that his body is found, who's left? The girls, so I would assume police would at least cross that off the list or investigate it, cross it off the list type of thing.
Of course. But here's another thing. If they had done that, set the fire and ran away in hopes to survive, Lauria would have taken her purse and definitely the money.
Car.
She's going to need that and the car.
Yes, very
So,
true, very
in
true.
my mind, that one's a real easy strikeout.
Yes.
Over the next 10 years, theories and rumors ran wild, all without leading to where the teens could possibly be. Was Danny a small time drug dealer? There was one report that said he had met two Sadie individuals a couple of weeks before the fire. One that he met there at the house, apparently there was an altercation. It was not a good meeting and it could have turned bad. This theory didn't really make sense though with the girls being abducted at this point. Why would they
Why take
murder them and then take the girls? Like, that's just a liability at that point. Why would, if you're angry at your drug dealer and you've already killed them, why would you take it further than that?
exactly, and you don't if they owed money to a drug dealer, you don't get your money or they could have taken the money from the house, but you wouldn't get the money if you killed them.
The biggest talk of the town was that the Craig County Sheriff's Department could either be covering something up or be connected somehow. And this seemed, again, everyone's like, oh, the police are covering something up. Oh, the teens ran away. That's the
You
normal first go to.
how many cases do we look at that there's always the conspiracy of the police covering this up? Not like the police have a whole shit ton of stuff to do on a regular basis, but now they're gonna start covering up stuff,
Well, the
unless it's
reason
true.
the reason this came up is that Danny had mentioned to his brother a couple of weeks prior that if anything happened to him, someone needed to look into the sheriff's department.
Oh, okay then.
This is because the Freeman family and the sheriff's department were in a bit of a well known feud at the time. Ashley's older brother, Shane, had been shot to death by a deputy after he had stolen a truck and a neighbor's gun.
I remember this now. Oh, it's all coming back to me.
Internal investigations ruled that Shane's death was justifiable, but the Freemans were planning on filing a wrongful death lawsuit shortly before the fire. Motive?
Yeah, I would say so.
Due to this conflict, the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation, or OSBI, took over the case and even interrogated the officers involved in Shane's death to rule them out as suspects. They interrogated them over hours and even had them take polygraph tests, and they were eventually ruled out completely. Two convicted murderers also confessed to the actions that happened that horrible evening. Tommy Sells and Jeremy Jones originally stated that they shot and killed the Freemans and abducted the girls over a drug debt. Jones claimed to have taken the girls to Kansas before he murdered them and disposed of their bodies in an abandoned mine. Authorities conducted a search of the area he claimed to have done this in and found no evidence proving this confession. Then the two recanted their statements, claiming they only confessed to gain some privileges while in prison.
I feel like people should be charged with something when they do that. I don't think they are.
Conspiracy. If they should have
Or
time, like for wasting all of our times and resources. Sorry, this is no longer, it's the opposite of good behavior. We've now added time to your sentence because you're being a
that
jerk and you're ruining
yeah.
taxpayers' money.
I mean,
Again,
almost like filing a false report, but a little bit heavier than that in my mind.
fraud. It's fraud.
Yeah, fraud, yes.
Ashley and Lauria's case stayed in the media for almost 2 decades. It was showcased on several TV shows, Unsolved Mysteries, America's Most Wanted. Many podcasts have covered this case, and news reports seemingly always brought it up on the anniversary of where these two girls have been taken to. Lauria's family hired a private investigator very quickly after the girls went missing, and this PI stumbled upon a piece of evidence that detectives missed or seemingly overlooked, whichever way you want to look at it.
Well, considering they missed an entire body, I could see them missing some evidence as well, or overlooking it because of the whole lawsuit.
He had found a card in the first few days of the murders in the Freeman's driveway that was an insurance verification card for a vehicle. This card led to a girlfriend of a local drug dealer, and that subsequently led to a car the PI found at a salvage lot that had girls' clothing and rental receipts for the mobile home where the drug dealer lived inside of it.
That's
The
sus.
the private investigator, to me that's a huge lead.
Huge.
Whether or not the girl's clothing was theirs or not, we don't know because the PI turned over the card to the authorities and told them about it, but they didn't take it in as evidence. So this PI just held on to it for 17 years.
What did they do with it? Or he
They
just
just
gave it
discounted
to him?
it. They
Oh,
didn't
he
take it in as
kept
evidence, so the PI kept it.
Oh, I gotcha, okay.
Yeah. So he just held on to it thinking there's got to be something here. There's got to be something here.
Yeah.
After 17 years, an investigator with the DA's office and an OSBI agent reached out to the private investigator because he found a note talking about this insurance card within the file. Again, it had been overlooked. Turns out that drug dealer was named Phil Welch, and he had two known individuals that did his heavy lifting:
Mm.
David Pennington and Ronnie Busick were their names.
His last name is the same name as the town they lived in?
Yes. Based on investigations by the OSBI, they alleged that the two murdered the Freemans, abducted the girls, and then murdered them a few days later, all over a drug debt. Busick was arrested on April 23rd of 2018 as he was the only one still alive from these three. In a sworn statement, the girlfriend of Welch had told police that she had seen photographs of the girls tied up inside of a briefcase that Welch carried. Some contained Welch in the photos. She recognized the bed that the girls were on. She stole the photographs at one point and hid them, but Welch threatened to kill her and put her in a pit with the girls if she said anything. She lost where she had kept those photos at some point over the years. A second girlfriend of Welch's confirmed that she also saw photos and also had been threatened into silence. Once information about these photographs had leaked out into the public, many others came forward claiming to have seen the photographs as well and had heard the three bragging about committing the crime.
Where the heck were all these people before? This is what we're talking about. You know something. Yes, it's scary. Go tell the police.
They had been threatened within an inch of their life into silence, and it's a small town. This guy must have some sort of muscle over them or
That's
something over them. And now that two of the three are gone, they were feeling brave to come forward.
yeah.
One of the witnesses claims that Busick even said he had raped and tortured the girls before disposing of their remains in a pit in Pitcher, Oklahoma. Busick was taken to trial, and he claimed to not have any involvement in what happened to Ashley and Lauria. But in 2020, he pleaded guilty to accessory to murder for the deaths of Kathy and Danny Freeman. He was also required to assist investigators with locating the girls' remains, but no trace of them has ever been found despite many searches. Busick, again, was the only one alive of the three at the time of the arrest. He was sentenced to 10 years in prison at the age of 69 and provided them with possible locations of the bodies. All had been
Why
searched with nothing found.
why wouldn't he remember where the body unless he just killed a lot of people, he doesn't know where they're at. And
Well,
10 years
he
for 2
claims he had
murders?
nothing to do with the girls.
Oh, just the killing of the parents?
Yes.
Or was he doing more like an Alfred plea? "Hey, I'm just gonna plead guilty."
Basically, an Alfred plea. I'm going to plead guilty to accessory to murder and
Okay,
just get 10 years.
okay,
It was supposed to be first degree murder.
okay, gotcha.
As recently as October of 2022, a search for the girls' remains have been conducted. A root cellar was provided as one of the locations that Busick said David Pennington frequented, and they used to do dope there together. That was his quote. We used to do dope there. It was suspected to be the locations that the girls were suspected to have been kept, and that potentially that location is where the pictures were taken.
Okay, with the bed that the ex-girlfriend recognized.
Recognized.
Okay.
Correct. Search was conducted, and again, investigations came up empty. Another location was a residence that Pennington lived at with his fiancee and daughter in law. It also had a cellar. This is Oklahoma. It's Tornado
Mhm.
Alley. There's lots of cellars in these places. He had told his fiancee and daughter in law that they were not allowed to access the cellar. Does that mean he's hiding something in there? Likely. Investigators searched it, again, turned up empty handed. Detectives believe that perhaps their bodies had been dumped into a well or other root cellar and then filled in with concrete, and that they may never find the remains of these two girls. Lauria's family is still hoping every day that their daughter's remains will be returned to them and that they can rest in peace. If you have any information on the location of Ashley Freeman or Lauria Bible, please contact the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigations at 1-800-522-8017 or email them at tips@osbi.ok.gov.
Wow. This one, every time I am just astounded at it all. It's absolutely horrific.
I know it.
And that one family that the brother was shot by a police officer, then the mom and dad are killed, and then the daughter taken, like that, everyone in that family, something
Mhm.
horrible happened to.
They eradicated the entire Freeman family. There was none left.